The Torah selections for today are Exodus 20, Exodus 27, 20 to 30, 10. Ezekiel 43, 10 to 27, and Matthew 13 to 20. The theme for these passages, I felt, is holiness of God. How are we to approach him in relationship? The Old Testament chapters tell us what that looks like on the outside. The New Testament, primarily, more on the inside. We're uncomfortable, possibly. I've been uncomfortable sometimes reading the Torah with the ritual that comes out. So I had some real good time to think about it for this reading. We're uncomfortable with the appearance of ritual, so we may have trouble seeing holiness in a regular plan of worship. Perhaps think of it like this. When we were very young and our parents were having a special guest, our mother or father may have said, "Now you be a good little girl or boy, and we're going to wash you up and put on your pretty dress and say please and thank you if they offer something, and don't chatter away, be polite." And they would give us rules of behavior to show respect, to honor. And we can think of that in this. This is how we come into relationship with our special guest. And this is how we come into relationship with God. So let's go to Exodus 27, 20 and 21. Command the people of Israel to bring you pure oil of pressed olives for the light, to keep the lamps burning continually. The lampstand will stand in the tabernacle in front of the inner curtain that shields the Ark of the Covenant. Aaron and his sons must keep the lamps burning in the Lord's presence all night. This is a permanent law for the people of Israel, and it must be observed from generation to generation. I'm skipping over, just to continue that picture, to Exodus 37. Every morning when Aaron maintains the lamps, he must burn fragrant incense on the altar. And each evening, when he lights the lamps, he must again burn incense in the Lord's presence. This must be done from generation to generation. Do not offer any unholy incense on the altar, or any burnt offerings, grain offerings, or liquid offerings. Once a year, Aaron must purify the altar by smearing its horns with blood from the offering made to purify the people from their sin. This will be a regular annual event from generation to generation, for this is the Lord's most holy altar. Then going back to Exodus 28, he goes into the specific clothing. You don't wear just nice clothes. You don't wear just clean clothes. He has specific clothes. Call for your brother Aaron and his sons, Nadab, Abihu, Eleazar, and Ithamar. Set them apart from the rest of the people of Israel, so they may minister to me and be my priests. Make sacred garments for Aaron that are glorious and beautiful. Instruct all the skilled craftsmen whom I have filled with the spirit of wisdom. Have them make garments for Aaron that will distinguish him as a priest, set apart for my service. These are the garments they are to make: a chest piece, an ephod, a robe, a patterned tunic, a turban, and a sash. They are to make these sacred garments for your brother Aaron and his sons to wear when they serve me as priests. So give them fine linen cloth, gold thread, blue, purple, and scarlet thread. Going down to verse 9. Take 2 onyx stones and engrave on them the names of the tribes of Israel, 6 names on each stone. Engrave these names on the 2 stones in the same way a jeweler engraves a seal. Then mount the stones in settings of gold filigree. Fasten the stones on the shoulders. The names are carried on his shoulders. Pieces of the ephod as a reminder that Aaron represents the people of Israel. Aaron will carry these names on his shoulders as a constant reminder whenever he goes before the Lord. Make the settings of gold filigree, then braid 2 cords of pure gold and attach them to the filigree settings on the shoulder of the ephod. Excuse me. Verse 29. In this way, Aaron will carry the names of the tribes of Israel on the sacred chest piece. I skipped the part because it's a lot of detail. But there was the ephod also of the 12 names of Israel on the chest piece, and in it was a pocket in which they put the Urim and Thummim, and I'll read about that. Over his heart. He wears it over his heart. So he's got the stones on his shoulders and the names on his heart. This will be a continual reminder that he represents the people when he comes before the Lord. Insert the Urim and Thummim into the sacred chest piece so they will be carried over Aaron's heart when he goes into the Lord's presence. In this way, Aaron will always carry over his heart the objects used to determine the Lord's will for his people whenever he goes in before him. Then skipping over again to the sacrifices that are to be offered, verse 38. These are the sacrifices you are to offer regularly on the altar. Each day offer 2 lambs that are a year old, one in the morning and the other in the evening. With one of them offer 2 quarts of choice flour, mixed with 1 quart of pure oil of pressed olives, and 1 quart of wine as a liquid offering. Offer the other lamb in the evening, along with the same offerings of flour and wine as the morning. It will be a pleasing aroma, a special gift presented to the Lord. These burnt offerings are to be made each day from generation to generation. Offer them in the Lord's presence at the tabernacle entrance. There I will meet you and speak with you. I will meet the people of Israel there, in the place made holy by my glorious presence. Yes, I will consecrate the tabernacle and the altar, and I will consecrate Aaron and his sons to serve me as priests. Then I will live among the people of Israel and be their God, and they will know that I am the Lord their God. I am the one who brought them out of the land of Egypt, out of bondage, so that I could live among them. I am the Lord their God. Now turning to Ezekiel 43. The Lord talks to Ezekiel the prophet of Israel while they are in exile. I'll just review for 1 second. Starting in verse 8, to give the reason why they are in exile. They put their idol altars right next to mine, with only a wall between them and me. They defiled my holy name by such detestable sin, so I consumed them in my anger. Now let them stop worshiping other gods and honoring the relics of their kings, and I will live among them forever. Then he goes on to speak to Ezekiel in verses 10 to 13, or 10 to 12. Son of man, describe to the people of Israel the temple I have shown you, so they will be ashamed of all their sins. Let them study its plan, and they will be ashamed of what they have done. Describe to them all the specifications of the temple, including its entrances and exits, and everything else about it. Tell them about its decrees and laws. Write down all these specifications and decrees as they watch, so they will be sure to remember and follow them. And this is the basic law of the temple: absolute holiness. Finally, we turn to Matthew, where the law takes on a different look. Matthew 5:13 to 20. You are the salt of the earth. But what good is salt if it has lost its flavor? Can you make it salty again? It will be thrown out and trampled underfoot as worthless. You are the light of the world, like a city on a hilltop that cannot be hidden. No one lights a lamp and puts it under a basket. Instead, a lamp is placed on a stand where it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your good deeds shine out for all to see, so that everyone will praise your heavenly Father. Don't misunderstand why I have come. I did not come to abolish the law of Moses or the writings of the prophets. No, I came to accomplish their purpose. I tell you the truth, until heaven and earth disappear, not even the smallest detail of God's laws will disappear until its purpose is achieved. So if you ignore the least commandment and teach others to do the same, you will be called the least of the kingdom of heaven. But anyone who obeys God's laws and teaches them will be called great in the kingdom of heaven. But I warn you, unless your righteousness is better than the righteousness of the teachers of religious law and the Pharisees, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. It's different in part, just one sec, because Jesus, remember when he came, he put aside his right to be God. And so there's a shift here from what God asks from us in the Old Testament and how Jesus calls us to approach him, to come as we are, to come as we are. What a good word that was to most of us. Thank you.